Hi, I'm Nora, compulsive eater. I'm abstinent. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the clarified gray sheet, nothing in between but black coffee, tea, or approved liquids. And my abstinence date is July 24th, 1977. Thank you for inviting me to qualify today. I see a lot of old friends here, and I see some people I haven't met yet. My story is that I got abstinent with the original Cambridge Gray Sheet group, which was just, I don't know, 5, 9 people, something like that, when it first started in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And there was no GSA, and we had no internet, no Facebook, no cell phones, no worldwide network. It was just a small group of people who were sick to death of going to OA meetings. And this is not meant as an indictment of OA. I'm just speaking of my own experience and experience of a few people in that early group. What we thought we were hearing, at least in Boston and Cambridge OA, was a lot of people who had that serenity. You know, I'm in recovery because God is on my side and everything is hunky-dory and it doesn't matter that I weigh 300 pounds. And the idea was to work the program of food recovery the way Alcoholics Anonymous has worked. First, put the plug in the jug, then we'll talk. First, get the basics of gray sheet abstinence, weighing and measuring 3 meals a day from the gray sheet without exception. The without exception part was a very radical idea in 1977 and met with much dismay and disapproval from anyone who heard about us. I weighed a little over 183 pounds when I came in. I'm under 5 feet tall. Every time I go to a different doctor, they measure me and they tell me I'm a different height, but apparently lately I'm 4'11" and a half. And my current weight is 102 pounds. So I now weigh 81 pounds less than when I first got abstinent. At over 183 pounds, I was severely bulimic and I was binging in the middle of the night and throwing up. And for a long time, I did that, drinking weird concoctions like mustard and vinegar and water. And then I met some girl in a therapy group who was doing Ipecac, and I started doing Ipecac instead. And meanwhile, I was teaching high school in Massachusetts. I taught high school English in that school for 34 years. And I'd been there for a few years when I got abstinent. And I was extremely uncomfortable in the classroom, and everything was going wrong for me. In the early days of my recovery, it was really impossible for me to decide what my primary problem was, because I was having a great deal of trouble with alcohol. I was having trouble with pills, downers, trying to calm myself down all the time, not only my pills, but other people's pills. I couldn't manage my bills. My little basement apartment was a terrible mess. I was seriously into self-harm, and I was mutilating myself. And that's something that my father did, and my mother did, and my paternal grandpa did. And, you know, I've been thinking about that lately. So I believe that my compulsive eating is also self-harm. And one of the things that's happened to me in my recovery over the years is to try to look at where am I harming myself? And how can I not do that a day at a time? I had no religion when I came here, and I still don't. I'm an atheist, but I'm probably the most praying atheist anybody ever wants to meet, because I get down on my knees every night before I go to sleep and ask for help from a higher power. And I go through all the people in my life who are close to me, my sponsees, my sponsor, other people, and ask whoever's there to protect them. But I also believe in rowing the boat. I was having a really hard time keeping that job. But I also believe I was hired because of my weight, because they had a group of kids in that school who were really obstreperous, and they wanted somebody tough who could manage them. And at 183 pounds, I looked pretty tough. And they came, actually, a couple of administrators came to observe me. I was teaching at a junior college, a really tiny one, for a year previous. They all came to observe my class, so they hired me. They thought I was going to be, they gave me these kids were like, they wouldn't listen to anybody, and they were walking out of the classroom, they were throwing things, and then 3 months later, they were all going down to the guidance department and saying, give me another teacher because Miss Mantell is too tough. And I just can't do it. I'm never going to pass English with this teacher. She wants us to actually read books. So it was a long, hard road for me. I came from my father was severely obese most of his life. And my mother had a lot of difficulties, and they were both rageaholics, and they were seriously into punishment and people shaping. And I was identified at a very early age as obstreperous and a nuisance. And so they took it upon themselves to reform me, and they were not successful, thank God. And so I don't know how much of my compulsive eating and self-harm came from that kind of treatment and how much of it was in my DNA, but it's interesting to think about that as I got abstinent. I stayed very close to home in the early years. Of course, I also had no money. So I didn't travel. I didn't go to restaurants. I had no social life at that weight. And I was amazed in college. I actually met this girl who was like 200 pounds overweight, and she had this gorgeous fiance. And it never occurred to me you could actually have a love life and a mate and be obese at the same time. And then, I realize now one thing probably has nothing to do with the other. But so anyway, so I actually got abstinent. And I got abstinent by weighing and measuring in the mechanics of what we do in the program first. And the instruction I got was, we don't do anything with 12 steps except for the first 3 for the first year. And the first 3 are still very important to me, because I often looking at why GreySheeters relapse. I've had sponsees who were abstinent for 5-6 years who relapsed. And I've had friends in the program who had 25 years of back-to-back abstinence and relapsed. And I think one of the things that happens very often with the addict, we call it the instant forgetter, is that people forget. People forget why they're here. So, and they start to think, well, I'm here to help everybody else. I'm here because I'm a good Samaritan. I'm here because I have a zillion service positions and I need to do them. And I'm here because I'm a low bottom compulsive eater. And I'm here because I hated being obese. I just have to say that, because it's like, a lot of people become so spiritual, they don't even acknowledge it. But for me, it's really important that I'm a small person today. Started with a new GP yesterday because our beloved GP is retiring. And she said, oh, I can see you take really good care of yourself. And, that was like gold to me. Because I do take really good care of myself, and it wasn't easy finding a doctor around here who was going to help me and support me, because there's a lot of things going on in the medical profession, and especially here, it's very expensive to live in Carmel, and it's hard for people to get started here. So we don't have a lot of doctors. Anyway, I just learned to be a problem solver. I heard my GP was retiring 6 months ago. I started looking. I had a few appointments. I called. I did a lot of searching. I networked with every goddamn person on the planet. And, I found myself a good one. And that's how I learned to do my gray sheet abstinence. And that's how I learned to do my life. My home groups are the Saturday morning meeting in Oakland, California, which is a Zoom meeting at 11 o'clock on Saturdays, California time, and No Matter Bloody What on Sunday morning, and face-to-face on Monday. And I say that because some people, I think, have maybe lost the tradition of the home group, and I think it's very, very important. I don't think it has to be geographic in any way, although it's really nice when there's a GreySheeter who lives nearby and you suddenly have an emergency appendectomy. But you know, my home group is made up of people from all over the world. And it's a wonderful way to connect with people. One of the services I did was to start the first video meeting. I was living in England at the time. I got married very late in life at age, I think it was 63 when I got married. And my husband is a scientist. He had this really, he was offered this amazing job in England. And we relocated to England, and it was really difficult getting into the London meeting. It was a long train ride and a long tube ride after that. And it was like a 3 or 4 hour project to go to a Saturday morning meeting. And, you know, I had done that. I did that for years when I first got abstinent, you know, trucked into Boston for meetings, drove an hour and a quarter each way. So anyway, I started a Skype meeting, and a lot of people say, oh, that's not a real meeting. It was a real meeting. It was people who showed up week after week and shared with each other and helped each other, who absolutely put abstinence first. And thank you. Thank you, Fenway. I said that 3 minutes. So, I mean, I could give you the whole laundry list of the no matter what's that I've experienced over years: hip replacement, a second hip replacement because the prosthesis failed in people all over the world, this particular model, and it failed in me too. The emergency appendectomy, the broken hearts from love affairs with unemployed low bottom addicts who I thought were going to stay sober forever because they had such horrible stories. How could they ever pick up again? The having no money, the bouncing checks all over town, and the relocation overseas. My sponsor, Marsha D, used to say you can get off the elevator at any floor, and good things can take us out as much as bad things. And I've also had a lot of really good things happen to me, including an adorable, brilliant, and extremely kind husband who's a great Scrabble player, and a second career after I finished my somewhat failed teaching career, because I really was probably constitutionally unsuited for it. But a second career that was very fruitful and very lucrative and very confidence building as well. And a really nice, luxurious retirement now in what is actually kind of a posh health spa community with an indoor pool and a gym in Carmel, California, which is like paradise, only with better weather. So I have a really good life today. I mean, things happen, things get screwed up. My husband has metastatic prostate cancer. It's not pretty. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I wake up in the morning feeling like actually, as long as I do this, I have the world by the ass, and I feel like it's going to continue. So thank you. And I pass. And I see someone sent me a chat and asked, of course, you can speak to me later. Please make a note of my phone number. That's in my Zoom label. Thanks. I pass.